you've done all the work, shit hits the fan.
I have the people pleaser in me. I have the perfectionism in me. I have the addict in me.
When I've hit some rock bottom states, I'm amazed.
You've gone down this road of transformation and healing. My mom didn't teach me unconditional love. My mom taught me conditional love.
Everything shut down. I could have blamed my ex-husband.
When I was sitting in a juvenile detention facility, facing 25 to life.
I'm 50 years old, divorced, 2 kids. I sacrifice.
Welcome back to the Ryan Zofay Experience. I am excited to introduce our next guest. This is Cathy Madeo, the first time I'm actually reading. A yoga expert, social media influencer, and founder of Cathy Madeo Yoga, a global online yoga school. Has educated and empowered tens of thousands of yoga students worldwide. Over 500 yoga teachers graduated from her programs across 50 plus countries. Passionate content creator, focusing on high quality yoga education and motivational content. Enough of the reading stuff. Why yoga? What was the reasons why you have taken that path?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've been reflecting on that a lot lately because, to be honest, I have like the worst body for a yoga practitioner. I'm
really?
Tight, like so tight.
Look at you. I couldn't, if you told me right now to sit Indian style, I could not sit Indian style.
Yeah, well, there's other things if you asked me to do, you'd be like, she is
Here,
so
I'm gonna
tight.
try it. I'm going to try to sit.
Okay, let's
watch how bad
Ryan's
it is.
going to sit crisscross applesauce.
Look, I'm not even kidding. Like, my knees are hurting right now. My back hurts.
Okay.
Is this good?
No. So
I feel good.
no, it's wonderful. But if I were going to adjust you in a class, I'd prop you up on a block.
Okay.
That'll help.
My hips are really, really tight.
Yeah, I get that.
Did you know that within a few minutes I will go numb?
Do I know that for you?
Yeah.
I know that your back will start to hurt and
my
your
whole
hips
body
will
will start going
yeah.
numb.
So just uncross your legs.
My feet will start to. I won't be able to feel my feet. Why is this?
It's so common because we're a sitting culture. So our hip flexors get in something called hypertonic, where they're constantly shortened.
Wow.
So they're short and then weak. So
is that why I'm getting smaller? I'm shrinking.
I mean, that could be contributing to it. But so then that coupled with the fact that your pelvis right now is tucked under, which is putting pressure on your tailbone, which is not designed to bear weight, but your sit bones are. And your sit bones, if you were sitting on them, would help you have a long spine and not feel pain sitting in this position.
So I'm a mess, is what you're saying.
It's not you, though. It's everyone. It's everyone. That's why we all need yoga.
So there it is. That's why you've chosen
just to be able to, let me tell you this. The actual purpose of yoga from like the ancient times was to be able to sit in that very seat, this seat here, and meditate. That was that was the purpose of getting your body posture-wise to be able to sit so that you could meditate. Because just like you said, you were sitting there, you're like, I couldn't sit here. You're in pain. You're thinking all these other things. You can't meditate like that. So we use the physical practice to open our bodies so we can sit and ease and like actually do the inner work.
Wow. So I do meditate.
Yeah.
I've been meditating for about 17 months now. And this is my meditation.
That's actually my
Just
meditation
like
seat. That's how I meditate.
Really?
Yes. And one of the reasons why that is good is because your feet are on the ground. So you're grounding down to the earth, but able to have a long spine. It actually doesn't matter what position you're in when you meditate, so long as your spine is long, so the energy can flow.
Okay, I like that. I've done some laying down meditations.
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep a few times.
Yeah, that's the danger with laying down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's Dr. Joe's thing. He's like, get up. So you got to get up and
you want to make yourself a little uncomfortable, so that you'll stay awake, basically. Yeah.
Have you ever looked into Dr. Joe's work?
Yeah, I actually, you're talking about Dispenza, right?
Yeah,
of course. So his work resonates with me deeply because I had a spontaneous healing.
Oh, wow.
And so I've read a bunch of his books and watched his podcasts. And
yeah, he's an incredible man for sure.
Yeah.
And so what I found in like this personal development space and like healing space, like something traumatic happens, some like significant life event takes place, and it usually drives people to discover more about themselves or discover more about life. You know, we talk about Dr. Joe. He had that insane bike accident where he got crushed. Mm-hmm. What was it for you? Like, what was that pivotal moment in your life that drove you to becoming a healer?
There's just been, I'm pausing because there's so many iterations. I've been practicing yoga 30 years, teaching 20. So I could tell a different story.
Hold on, 30 years. So what are you, 31?
So I've been, you know, depending on which pivotal moment in my life, I would tell a different story.
Sure. So let's take it back.
You want to go way back to the very
beginning? Yeah.
I'll say before I even knew what the word yoga was, I was 5-6 years old, living in a small town in West Virginia. And I cannot explain it, Ryan. I was the youngest kid. I felt so called to walk every Sunday to the church that was outside of our development. And no one in my family would go. My mom used to try to ask my older sister to walk me just because I was like 5 or 6. She was concerned, and my sister wouldn't go. And I would walk myself, and I reflect back on that time, and I think, why did I do that?
Right.
Like, what was inside of me, and what did I get from being there? And I know I got from being there community acceptance. I loved listening to the pastor do his sermon, all that stuff. But I just think I have that's something I can't explain, like a seeker. I'm like seeking
like
spiritual truth. Yeah. And like, I'm really here, I think, on earth in this iteration to connect to these deeper layers of me. And so that's when it really started for me. So before I even found yoga, I think I found, for me, what I would call now spirituality. And then when I was about 16, I ended up leaving the church. I stumbled upon some meditation books. I didn't know at the time it was Buddhism, basically. Okay. And I started practicing mindfulness as a teenager.
Wow.
And meditating throughout the day and stuff. And then when I was 19, I found yoga. And having a physical practice grounded with the spiritual meditative practice, that was the moment where I was like, this is it.
You found it.
I found it. I found it. And that's
what was
just,
that moment like?
Yeah.
So like you were talking about this time in your life when it just, everything kind of made sense, and you're like, wow, like what was that feeling like knowing like what your purpose is, and knowing, because so many people spend so long of their life not really knowing what they're up to or what their purpose is or what fulfillment even looks like. Mm-hmm. And so having that at such a young age, what was that like? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I didn't know that I'd be a teacher. In fact, it was 10, 11 years later before I actually started teaching yoga.
Right.
But what was it like? It felt like home. It felt like I never really feel like I fit in anywhere. Like it was like, this is a safe space to be. This is where I can explore all these deep ideas. This is the seeker in me has found her home.
I love that.
And now I can really start my spiritual journey.
Wow. I love that. And so I felt so disconnected as a child growing up because of the traumatic experiences that my family were putting me through. Having lost my sister and my parents divorcing, mom and dad using alcohol and drugs, I just never felt connected. I never felt like I had like my family unit. So the first time I remembered like coming home or like feeling like I have arrived was when I was introduced to a 12-step program. Because I struggled with this addiction, this alcoholism for the majority of my life up until that point. And I was like, man, like I didn't even know there was another way. I didn't even know that this existed. And then I remember started going to meetings, and I just remembered like this inner voice was just like, all right, you got it. Like, you're good. Like, you're safe now. Like, you're going to be okay. Like, we have a solution to your problem. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. And that was like the starting point to really my healing to get here, which was 23 years ago. And so I can acknowledge that And so how does it feel being a teacher and a mentor? Because I would have to assume in some way you're essentially doing this for others, showing them this path of healing, of transformation, of essentially coming back home. Mm-hmm. And what does it feel like to actually take people and show them this possibility?
Mm. Yeah. What does it feel like? I get my most exciting and lit up by developing people. That's what lights me up and has kept me on this teaching yoga journey, even when as my body like breaks down and stuff. It's like I'm always lit up by that. And I was reflecting on this recently because I don't know if you are, but I was definitely am probably still a people pleaser. Like that was a huge part of my personality. And I think what's happened is that I've directed the good part of wanting to please people into helping others be the best version of themselves.
I love that.
Right. Yeah.
And so why do you think that the people pleaser in you exists?
Yeah, that's like therapeutic. I don't know that I've, let's see, like if I were to go back.
Just like, yeah, think about it. Like, why do you think that part of you exists?
Yeah. I think it started in my childhood,
sure,
being in a patriarchal family, feeling like I never had a voice. And so just, well, maybe if I can just do the right thing and be, good, I'll get validation
sure,
or acceptance, that kind of thing. So that's where it probably started for me. But I think like, all these words like people pleaser, perfectionism, they get a bad rep, but if you can channel the energy and make it useful, it ends up being a really powerful thing. Because I'm also I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
I love that. So I believe, and I've learned along the way, that those parts of us are designed to protect us. Mm-hmm. It's the unconscious doing its job to protect us. And those parts live in the shadows. And all of a sudden, one day we have this awareness, this aha, like, oh, there's that person. And then what tends to happen, and what I have found, the path to healing is really like embracing that part, like loving that part. And you said there's good in that people pleaser in you that is serving and doing these good things. Even the part of the people pleaser that we may not like, that is so necessary to integrate that part of us to self, to be whole, right? Because if we're in a disagreement with a part of us, then we're in a disagreement with God's creation. And what I have found is like, I have the entertainer in me, I have the people pleaser in me, I have the perfectionism in me, I have the addict in me. Like all these different parts of Ryan exist because they needed to exist at a certain time in my life to protect me, to keep me safe. As a human species, connection and unity and a tribe is so necessary. And so those parts of us are created to essentially do its job. And as soon as I started to recognize those were doing what it's intended to do, I had more love and acceptance of that. The less I was upset or disturbed or frustrated. And I really started to embrace like wholeness and peace. And so as you've gone down your healing journey and like starting to identify these different parts of you, how has that been for you, like experiencing these different versions, these different seasons of life for you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And that was such a beautiful response. So thank you for sharing all of that, those insights. I mean, there's been so many, one thing that I'll say that I have found for myself after having practiced yoga for as long as I have, because, and I've heard you say this, we can have all the knowledge, but we have to take action. And so yoga is a practice. Like it's not just reading books and this and that. You have to practice it. And when I look back to like my 20s, which was really just so hard and so much resistance and so much hustle and so much pain and struggle and this and that, I was practicing in my beginning stages of practicing yoga. And so it hadn't all like changed me. It hadn't rewired my brain yet. Now when things happen, like when I've hit some rock bottom states, I'm amazed. I'm like, wow, the yoga's working. Like I'm going through this. I'm allowing myself to go through it. I'm allowing myself to feel all of the feelings. I'm not stuffing things away. In yoga, we call it the tapas. We let things bubble to the surface. But I'm now so practiced in the tools of yoga that I'm using them and they're working. Wow. So I'm able to like go through these really dark periods, but still feel, grateful for this and that in my life.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And I think something that I'd like to highlight that you just mentioned, I think is so important, is that you mentioned yoga as a practice. So if you think about practices for yourself to have wholeness or to have peace and to have love and compassion, it's a practice. And what you're saying is when shit hits the fan, you'll realize how valuable your practices really are. And so that means doing the practice even when it doesn't seem like you need to do it. Because it's working even in those moments. And so that's so important, because they talk about in like recovery, right? It's like when you need God the most is when you least expect it. And so if you're not strengthening that spiritual connection with God, all of a sudden there's going to come a point in your journey when you're going to have the level of temptation that the only thing that can stop you from taking that next step is God. And so it's like you're saying, like this practice, like you've gone down this road of transformation and healing and practicing yoga and mindfulness and spirituality, and it's who you are. It's the state of your being. And then all of a sudden you hit a low point and you're like, whoa, it's working. Like, thank God I have this. It's essentially like a buffer.
It's so true. I'm loving this conversation, because I think what we're really tapping into is it's very much like going to the gym and building muscle, and like you don't build muscle in a day. Right. It's like shit hits the fan and you're like, oh, I'm going to meditate and everything's going to be fine. No, it's like all of the years of doing the inner work, shit hits the fan. And then also I think what you're saying that's so key is you've done all the work, shit hits the fan. Well, you don't throw all those tools out in that moment. That's the moment to really use them. And you've sharpened your saw so much that you're doing it. It's like, that is the whole thing. So in these darkest times has been my greatest transformation. And my, like, all of the success that I have now has all come from those dark times. So now, it might sound weird to be like, I embrace or I love when stuff goes bad, but like, I'm always like, okay, this is the juice. Sure. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that. And so I've adopted this belief that, God will never give us more than we can handle. And we're always faced with worthy opponents. And so if you think of it like boxing, right? Like if you're a new boxer, you step in the ring, you're gonna fight guys that are based on your level. Well, the day you step in the ring and you're fighting the best boxer in the world, that is a worthy opponent. And you're there because you're ready to be there. And so I believe that's what life does for us, right? It's like we're preparing for that worthy opponent so that we can teach others how to get through those challenging times. And there was a time in my life when, going through all the trauma and the abuse that I went through, I never realized those were sharpening me to be here today. And really where I met you at the Aspire Fort Lauderdale, when I spoke on stage in front of 4,000 people. So I know, like, in that moment, like, God was channeling me. I know in that moment, like, I was called to be the catalyst of change, to really make a difference in these people's lives. And I was just so proud of that, because I look back and I'm like, all those times that I went through those painful moments, that I didn't want to do it, that I was resistant to it, I was not feeling comfortable about it. They say, when you're growing, it's painful. Like, it doesn't feel good to grow. But after that moment, it was all worth it. Receiving the love and the feedback of people feeling touched and feeling transformed, man, it was all worth it. All those challenging times were worth it. How has it been like that for you on this path? Because what you do is not easy. Like, you're a servant leader and you're out there just serving people. How does that feel? I know you mentioned earlier you get a ton of fulfillment from it, but like at what point in your journey do you just like sit back and like, wow, I did it. Like, holy shit, I did it.
Yeah. When I lead teacher trainings, which are where I train yoga students to become teachers, it's really a training and transformation. And people that come to the training don't know that. They think they're just going to learn how to do like handstand or split or something.
And that'd be me.
Yeah. Right?
I'm here to learn how to do Indian style without the block.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, when we get towards the end of the training and they're saying things like, wow, my husband just commented that he's never seen me so relaxed when my kid threw a tantrum. Or the person's like, I left my job because I realized I wasn't being true to myself, and now I know what to do. Like those kind of life-changing moments where, you know, I often just like tear up with just joy. You know, I'm like, it's working, and people are changing, and they're, you know, never going to be the same, and they're learning real skills and tools that don't just apply on the yoga mat, but off the yoga mat into every area of their life. And that is just, it's huge. You know, it's so funny because I'm, you know, 50 years old, divorced, 2 kids. I sacrifice a lot to do what I do. And it's doesn't, like, I would do it again. It's like, it's so fulfilling. Like I have, you know, I feel like a mama bear. Like I have children all over the world, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's hard to even like put a price tag or value on how that feels every day, receiving DMs, emails, voice memos about, you know, either something they saw or going through a training. It's just amazing. I'm sure, I mean, you know what it's like.
And there is something that you have experienced that I will never understand, and I have a new appreciation for, is what you go through as a mother and to actually bear a child. You know, growing up, I desperately wanted the attention and the love and the nurturing from my mom, and she was just incapable of doing it. And so that was like the biggest void that I had to address. And I still address that I'm still dealing with today, even at 40, where, you know, like not having that solid motherly nurturing person by my side no matter what. Like my mom didn't teach me unconditional love. My mom taught me conditional love. The more I performed for my mom, the more she would express love for me. But she was addicted. She wanted her drug, and she used me as a vehicle to get her drug, using me to manipulate my dad, steal money from my dad. Then it progressed to me stealing cars, you know, robbing houses. I became violent, and I had so much self-hatred. I truly hated myself because of the things I was doing, because I knew it was wrong. Like my intuition was like, hey, this isn't right. But then it's like my mom, the one that is supposed to care for me, is telling me to do it. And I say this because my mom lost my sister, and that's what really kind of sent her on her spiral. And so like I couldn't imagine like going through 9 months carrying your child, watching the child grow, and then 6 years the child dies. I couldn't even imagine.
No, it's like the worst.
And so
idea.
that was actually, that understanding and that perspective really started to allow me to heal, because it was very, very hard for me to see it from a different perspective. And so I just want to say thank you for what you've done. And I would never understand what it is like to go through bearing a child.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, when I first got separated, I remember thinking a lot of things, and you know, one of them was like, well, I'll never do that again. Like I just chill for a while. And
how many times have you done that in life? You're like, I will do that again.
I will never do that again. Yeah, that was a long one. 17 years. No, but I remember a couple of things thinking like, he's gone. I need to step up. Like I need to provide stability and security, because their whole world got shattered. And then it was like COVID on top of it.
Wow. This is your kids?
This is my kids. Yeah. So, and you know, I can go more into the story. It was like, this is one of the dark times, but in terms of just this, like I was thinking I've got to be the stable rock here. So I knew immediately I wasn't going to like date and introduce them to people. It was like, I need to focus on building a business because there's no income coming in, and I need to take care of my kids. And that has really been my main focus. And I remember a yoga student of mine who was in her 50s, 60s. Her son dealt with addiction, his whole adult and young life. And I remember her saying, she was kind of just speaking out loud. Like, I don't think she meant to be speaking to my soul, but she was. And she said, if I could have done it over again, I wouldn't have spent those years as a single mom dating men, trying to like find, you know,
filling that void.
Yeah, because she wasn't giving it to her son. And that, she has no idea how much her saying that to me in those years really impacted me. Yeah. And it's funny because I never necessarily wanted kids, Ryan, to be honest. Like, I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't get married till I was like 28. Didn't have my first kid till I'm so bad with years, but I think it was 30 something. Second kid, 39, you know, and I still was like so ambitious. And then suddenly I'm put in this position where I'm the sole provider, 100% parent. And I just leaned in, and now I love it. It's like, it's one of my most favorite parts of being alive, like to be able to get to be a mother, to have these delightful kids that I get to spend time with. So is somewhat like a blessing in disguise.
I love what you just said. I think it's so important and it's so overlooked. There's two concepts of motivation, right? There's like push motivation, which a lot of coaches teach today. It's like, you know, have discipline. I think discipline's important, like waking up on time and having schedules and having routines. I think all that stuff is great. But even that level of motivation gets exhausting at times. And you just touched on something that I think is so profound that I believe if more people would understand this concept and experience, they would get so much further faster. And it's pull motivation. And pull motivation is when you're serving for something greater than yourself. And you identified a time in your life when you were like, all right, you had this conversation with yourself. You're like, you know what? Like, no one else is going to do this. I got to do this for myself. Yes, there's this challenge in front of me. Yes, it's scary. Yes, there's fear. But you were like, I need to be the breadwinner for my family. I need to be the one to raise these kids. I want to live a life that I design. And there was no question. You did it and you got it done. And now you are an incredible influencer. You have an insane following. You've helped thousands of people in your practice. And I just want to say this for those of you that are listening, because if you're wondering why you're not where you want to be, because you're not serving something greater than yourself. And so you heard what she said. She said, I leaned in and said, I have to do this because it's for the greater cause of others. And that was a turning point in my life when I realized that my success has nothing to do with Ryan, has everything to do with the people that I can serve. I exponentially grew in all areas of my life.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like, I see it so much with a lot of my, friends that are like married and very secure, and they're financially, dependent to, if I can just be frank. And it's like, and they want to grow and they want to do these things. And I'm like, I'm not telling people to get divorced here, but like, you need a strong why, because if you're feeling that secure, what is pulling you exactly? So it's like, if you don't have a real life pull, like I did, create one, like find it within you to find a strong reason why, because that is definitely what catapulted me.
It's so interesting what you're saying, is because, and I, like you, somebody decided that for me. Like, I didn't sit down one day and be like, okay, I need a big why. No, I got shoved into it. Like, hey, you better swim. I got pushed into the pool, into the deep end, and I was like, oh God. And so there was a time when I was pissed off and frustrated and felt entitled. Like, why did you push me in the deep end? Well, now I can look back on my life and say, thank God, because I didn't have to question why I'm getting up every day. Like, I had to do it myself. I had to be the one to survive and to protect my family and get my family sober. And I did that. I got my brother sober. I got my dad sober. I got my mom sober. You know, both of them, my mom and my dad, have left the earth now, but I got to experience them at the end of their life sober. And so I was the one that was able to do that and provide that for them. And I was so grateful. I didn't know it at the time, what God was preparing me for. And so I think it's so important what you said, because you access a part of you that was so much more powerful than any limitations that this world will put on us. And that's what you said, your why. And so I'm sure a lot of people that are going to be listening to this have had those moments, but they've regressed. They've shut down. They've become this victim of like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And so what would you say to somebody that has had a big enough reason to get out of bed every day, but they're choosing not to use it as their why? What would you say to that person?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, you're so right. We either go victim mode or we go, you know, survival kind of persevere mode. When I was in the thick of it, you know, COVID, no money, new single mom, no way to make money, everything shut down. I could have been like the victim. I could have blamed my ex-husband. I could have blamed the world for COVID, like all the things. And instead what I did, and this is what I'll recommend, whether it's this exactly, is I allowed myself the time and space to sit with it, all of it. And I remember it was like a 3-week period. And I would just cry, and then I would meditate, and I'd start crying. And it was through that time of allowing myself in some ways maybe to grieve and process and, you know, feel all of the feelings, was when I started to get like downloads, like connect in about, like, that's when the ideas came in. Versus if we spend our mental energy blaming, victim mode, you know, all of that kind of stuff, you're missing, you use the word channel, you're missing that channel, that flow of ideas and, you know, things that you could be doing. You're missing it all. Sure. So I think the first thing is to quiet. I'm always going to recommend meditation. Like, meditation's just like the gateway for so many things. And I know for some people it's really hard to meditate, but so then just let the stuff come to the surface. Let the stuff come to the surface, have your grieving time, and then just allow things to flow and, you know, change that mindset of outside of that victim. In yoga, we call it opposite contemplation. So it's one of the ancient sutras of like, if your mind is like always focused on this one thing and it's like a negative loop pattern, sometimes we just have to literally flip it like a coin, even if it's like a fake it till you make it kind of thing, to rewire that loop or a pattern interrupt kind of loop, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's so profound. And I think something that you're mentioning that I feel is so valuable is this concept of like taking responsibility, right? Like, we're so much more powerful than we think we are. And if you're in a situation in your life that you don't like, what I have found is you put yourself there. Like, even this idea of like, I'm driving my car, I'm parked at the red light, somebody hits me. That person that got hit by the car could easily say, I didn't do it, it's not my fault. They hit me. Well, if you take it a step further, you actually put yourself there. So if you really wanted to own your space, you could say, hey, I put myself there at this time when this person got out of control and hit me. That would be true empowerment.
Right.
And that's where I think is so important, that I want to add and expand to what you're saying, because you were like, hey, look, I can sit here and I can blame my ex-husband. I can blame my circumstances. I can poor me, and I'm going through COVID, all this stuff. But no, you're like, you know what? Like, I'm going to use this to empower myself. I'm going to use this to become somebody that I know I'm capable of becoming. And then you took action.
Right.
You actually did the work. And you mentioned this idea of like taking time for self. And for those of you that are listening, the biggest battle that you're going to go up against in your life is your own internal program. Mm-hmm. And so if you try to sit down and meditate and your mind and your thoughts won't let you, that's the battle that you have to go up against. And so I think it's so important because for the last almost 18 months now, I've probably have missed maybe like 7 days. Nice. I've meditated every single day. Mm-hmm. I literally woke up this morning, did an hour this morning. I'm at an hour now. Every day I'm at an hour. First thing I do, wake up, use the restroom, brush my teeth, jump right into meditation. First thing I do, because the monkey mind wants to throw these negative thoughts at me, and you're a piece of shit, and all this craziness. And so I want to feed my mind with positivity. I want to access the void, access the quantum, and just feel those downloads, because when you can rest your nervous system,
yes,
you're going to get those downloads, you're going to get those visions, you're going to get those insights, and you're going to get those synchronicities. And the more you can quiet down, the more God's voice will speak to you.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Yeah. It's so true. I'm so happy you're meditating. This is like so fantastic, and I can't wait to share that with everyone, because sure. I mean, and sounds like you're getting all of those benefits.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much power in meditation. There's so many, obviously, like you have your shoes off. I want to have my shoes off.
Well, I try to sit Indian style. I mean, I lasted like 2 seconds.
I live barefoot. I hate wearing shoes. Yeah. So, beyond the physiological benefits that we all know through science and this and that, but I love that you use the word quantum. It's like, this is how I create my life. My life is not the amazing life that I live, and I'm truly living my best life, is not necessarily from all the work I do. Of course, I do all the work, but it actually starts with the meditation.
Sure.
And that is my time to visualize, manifest, feel, quantum leap, connect. And from that space, the work becomes easier, things flow,
So
I'm excited. The rewiring of the brain that you were talking about with the monkey mind and the negative thoughts, like everything just switches. And
so true.
Yeah. And meditation is, also a practice, also like a muscle. So it has to be done regularly. So.
You talked about quantum leaping. And so if you want to get further faster, think of the concept, right? It's like, here you are in life, you have your level of perspective, and then you meet somebody. Let's say it's you, and I want to become a yoga instructor. You never knew it existed. It was never even a thought or a vision, or never an identity, or it was never a state of being. You meet somebody, they teach you everything that they know from their perspective. You literally can collapse a ton of time and get so much further, faster, with the right mentor, the right coach, somebody that has actually traveled the road that you want to go down. And you talked about, quieting the mind to have these visions. That's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. I would have laughed at you if you told me 23 years ago, when I was sitting in a juvenile detention facility facing 25 to life, that I would be here today.
Right.
But because I traveled this road of recovery and personal development and therapy and healing and addressing my traumas and just doing a ton of work. I mean, I'm well over 10,000 hours at this point. Mm-hmm. Every single time I do it, I get another distinction. I get another aha. I see another vision. I get another synchronicity. And it's so crazy because, like, just when I least expect it, boom, God puts it in my path. Literally.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, like, I would have never thought that I would have, like, going to Aspire and Fort Lauderdale on Wednesday, I'd be doing a podcast the following Monday with you.
Right.
Like, I'm like, how does this even happen?
Right. Yeah. You can't even make this stuff up.
Sure.
I feel that way often when I open my email and I'm like, how is this opportunity even coming to me right now? Like, how did this even happen?
Right. And why do you think so? Why do you think those opportunities keep presenting themselves to you?
I do think it is a lot of the meditation. I'm open to receiving it. I'm focused on aligning with it. I'm focused on being on that frequency of it. And it's a combination of that, but then as what you're saying, it's like, it's a lifetime of work. Like, I didn't just show up on the scene in the yoga world, right? It's like, I have clocked those 10,000 hours, teaching in the classroom, probably 20, 30, 40,000 practicing yoga. So when that, like a wealth of experience aligns up with the meditation, the power, then I think those opportunities just start flowing.
It's so real. And it's so interesting because I've learned just because it doesn't seem like it's working doesn't mean it's not working. And you talked about like all the work that it took to get to this place. And so for those of you that are listening, you may be on this journey and it may feel like it's not working, and you may have this thought like, I need to give up, and you might want to quit. Well, that's actually when you need to double down. That's when you need to really lean in. And I've learned these like metaphors along the way, like consistency makes the non-believers believers. And what's interesting about that is the one that needs to believe it the most is the person that's actually doing the thing. And you talked about these frequencies and the receivership and being aligned with all of that stuff. The only way that you're going to be in receivership or be aligned is because of the practice.
Right.
Like, I don't believe there's luck. I think it's preparation meeting opportunity. And so if you're constantly, every single day, preparing for the moment's going to come. And when the moment comes, it's your time to shine. And so it's interesting because how I got to the Aspire tour was just that. I was invited down to an event in Miami. I had no idea I was going to speak. But up until this point, I had a ton of practice because I was relentless with my pursuit. I was relentless with my practice. I wanted to be a thought leader. I wanted to be able to change people's lives. I wanted to add value in people's lives. So I was just getting my reps in. I get down there. She's like, I want you to introduce you to Tim Story. So I meet Tim Story. Great. Nice to meet you, Tim Story. Tim Story says, what are you going to speak about? And I was like, speak? What? I had no idea I was speaking. And then Melissa's like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to speak after Tim. And I was like, what? Like, so here I am, like, going to go after one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? But I had a moment because in his talk, he said I was in alignment with my assignment. And I was like, this is God. I've been prepared for this.
Yes.
This is my moment right now. And I went out there. I burned it down. He fell in love with me. We had an amazing relationship. We fell in love with each other, so to speak. And next thing you know, he's introducing me to high-level people. Next thing you know, they're like, wow, you have a gift, kid. Come speak on the stage. And so it's so wild because you talk about the practice. You talk about the 10,000, 20, 30,000 people that you've served. So that's where the magic is.
Yes.
You practice relentlessly when nobody's looking. You get to shine when everybody's paying attention.
Yes. Yeah, I love this conversation. And, when I look out there on social media, one thing that I see of is this, trend of like coming onto the scene and just already selling a product and, already this. And it's like, but there's nothing behind any of it. Yeah. Or there's no, experience or doing and it doesn't have to be like, you didn't have to speak on 10,000 stages to speak on that stage. The experience comes from all the work that you've done, right?
Sure.
And so that's the one thing that I would say for newer people that are coming out on social media, like do the work, practice, build trust with your audience. And then you sell. Right.
I mean, you can't skip the suck.
You can't skip the work. You got to build that credibility and yeah.
It's so funny because I never thought I'd be a coach, right? Like that was never like in the cards for me. I built a 9-figure business. I've had a ton of success throughout my life. I was always like very athletic. I was always the top of class with anything I've ever done. I've always had this obsession to want to be the best, and like whoever was at the top, that was my target. And then I started doing this personal development stuff, and I just loved doing the seminars. I loved going through the experiences with people and like connecting and like loving and having these moments, and then the celebrations and like it was very rewarding for me. And so I'm like 40 events in at this point at I think it was June 2023. At this point, I haven't charged. I'm free events, 40 events at this point, like just pouring a heart out. It's spending the money. I'm probably like $500,000 in debt at this point because I just like want to help people. Because Tony's like, the gift of living is giving. So I'm like, I gotta help. So that was just what I did. Tony said jump. I said how high. So I'm just doing this. And then I met Myron Golden. Myron Gold's like, dude, you're doing a disservice. He's like, do you understand how successful you are in this world? He's like, people want to pay you,
right.
and you're not even offering that. Right. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even make sense to me.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm a coach. And he's like, what do you think you've been doing to grow your business? You've been coaching your people. And I'm like, huh? It was like my aha moment.
Right.
I was like, all right, I guess I'm a coach now. So yes, now I coach people.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
That's my journey to becoming a coach. Wow.
So it's only been a couple years then?
Yeah, I mean, technically, like paying people paying me to coach them.
Yeah. You're a fantastic speaker.
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone listening, I saw him at Aspire, Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
Definitely teared up, like really powerful.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love that. And so let me ask you this, because, you know, I get different perspectives, and I'm just curious, what does like compassion mean to you? Like when you hear compassion, like how does that resonate with you, and what does that mean to you?
I think it's acceptance, love with like a greater love, not romantic love. And by acceptance, I mean, when I will teach or talk about yoga students having compassion with themselves on their mat, it's like stopping that negative voice, you know, accepting where your body is today, loving where it is, being grateful for where it is. And I think that in order to be compassionate with others, it starts with ourselves.
Sure.
So being able to accept and love yourself, and then spreading that compassion out to all things. So that when you get, you know, someone's angry in the grocery store line or road rage or something like that, that you don't have to react to what they're doing. You can have that moment of compassion, of love, seeing perhaps their point of view. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe their mom just died, like whatever it is. So for me, that's what's compassion.
I love that. I'm aligned with everything that you said. And the way I look at it, I mean, you know, everything is frequency. We're all energy, right? We're the lowest form of energy. We're matter. And so compassion for me is a frequency that pulls in. You know, there's like, as I said, push motivation and pull motivation. And so like when compassion is present, it just pulls everything together. You mentioned this acceptance on the mat. And so what I thought about when you said that was like me on the mat flopping around like stiff as a board. And like compassion would be just loving myself even in my imperfections.
Yes.
And when I can cross that bridge and I can like really just have compassion for myself, it gives other people permission to have compassion for themselves. And you referenced this moment in like a shopping plaza when somebody's being a jerk. What I have found is when I have compassion and love for them, I don't see the jerk. I see that painful part of them that is a void inside of them that desperately wanted something that they didn't get. And so like I see them for what it is, not for what I want to think it is. And that's where people get so problematic in life, is because they're so triggered by people's responses. When that's the surface, compassion allows you to go deeper and like saying like, hey, why is this person, you said like if they have a death in the family, something went bad, they lost their job, whatever it is, like if you can like really lean in and like see the human and the person that's struggling, the struggle isn't going to bother you. The struggle is just the symptom. There's a cause that's causing the symptom. And so I feel like compassion allows you to like see the cause of why they're being the way that they're being. And it allows them to come in, because when like in the course room, when I do redirects and I'm doing interventions, I'm looking for unconscious triggers. I'm looking for people that are reacting and responding to things. And the path to healing them is to have compassion, is to like lean in and to love them and love the part of them and just invite them to talk about like what's coming up for them. And every time
it dissolves
every time.
all the anger, hate, and everything. It's beautiful.
And so what's next for you? What's next for you on your journey?
Big
so
breath.
many things.
Yeah, so many things in the works. No. No, for me this year with my business, my 2025 goal is really expanding partnerships and relationships and that kind of work. So it's wonderful to meet you and be you here because I feel like that's a manifestation of that right there. And so just, growing my impact and this and that, and just continuing to scale my yoga school to reach as many people as possible. And that's what's in the works.
I love that. So and I read it in the beginning, but I don't like the reading stuff. I just like to get in there. So you teach people how to become professionals and actually make a living and earn a living and essentially be their own boss. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be from a yoga student who just wants to really learn all of the facets of yoga that they can't really get from a yoga class or a YouTube video. So someone might take a yoga teacher training who doesn't necessarily want to teach, to someone who loves yoga, wants to teach, but maybe they're keeping their full-time job, to someone who wants to make a career of it. So I serve all of those people, but definitely, people that do want to make a career of it, they get pulled to me because of my experience and having the ability or having grown my online yoga school to as big as it is globally.
How many students have you served in your coaching program?
So I've graduated over 500 yoga teachers, but tens of thousands of people have practiced with my online yoga series.
That's
so
amazing.
I have 14 online yoga series for, from beginner yoga to advanced, and then those that want to either teach or really understand all the different tools. I have a 200-hour teacher training and then 300-hour, which is an advanced teacher training, and all of it's online. But what happens is, I didn't realize as I started the school that this beautiful community would come out of the school, and so it became very real to me that I needed to create opportunities for us to get together and meet in person. So I hold like alumni events and retreats all over the world, and alumni come and we get together and we do our things. So that's kind of the scope of what my online yoga school does. And then I do coaching and social media, and there is branding and marketing within the teacher training so that teachers feel like they have a starting point. But I always say, like, if you train with me, I'm a lifelong mentor. And it's always interesting, the students that take me, like, think I'm serious or think they're worthy of that. And then they're always surprised. Oh, she's true. Like,
she's following through.
I just called her and texted her and she responded. It's like, of course, that's what I'm here for.
That's so cool. And you mentioned something about like planting seeds, and you said as you started this journey, you didn't even know this would build into a community.
Right.
And so that selfless leading style that you have of just continuing to plant seeds and continuing to serve and impact and make a difference, and then all of a sudden you look back at your harvest and you're like, oh my God, this is my harvest. This is what it. And so that's such a valuable lesson, because when you can literally go out there in the world and add value and continue to plant seeds and continue to nurture those seeds and water those seeds and love on those seeds and give it all that it needs, all of a sudden you're going to look back one day and be like, holy crap, that's what the life is all about. And I've never met anybody on my journey that doesn't have a version of that is successful.
Right.
They may be at a season of life where they may have gotten off that path and they may have, turned to the, I don't want to say dark side, but they may be falling short at the time, but at some point in their journey, they've had some version of serving others or making a difference and impacting others. And so you said something that I think is really important to talk about too. You said my goal and my plan for 2025 was X. And I believe, and I know today, if you fail to plan, then plan to fail. And so you said that this was my plan for 2025. And so how has it been so far, almost finishing the first quarter? Have you hit your targets? Are you on pace, or have you exceeded that, or what's that like?
That's such a good question. And I'll get real tactical here, is that I very quickly realized I just don't have the bandwidth. Like, this is a huge project. And so I hired someone.
Okay.
And basically what she is doing and we're doing together is creating our vision of a list of people that I'd want to partner with that align well with my brand, and starting to do, crafting really great pitches and just getting myself out there more. And so we're in the beginning stages of developing all of that right now. So that's what the first quarter has been. But we just did our first pitch and like success, so partnering with resort in Peru this summer, and I'll be going there and making content and doing all the yoga things there. So that's just like that was like our first test of like, is this going to work? So yeah, I think I'm all about, like, I could have just been like, oh yeah, I want to focus on brand partnerships and just start like willy-nilly reaching out to people or something like that. Sure. But one thing that I've really learned with building my business is that infrastructure is everything. And if you can lay the foundation and lay a strong infrastructure, then you've got a system and then it'll just go. I love that. Right. So like this first part is like really getting clear on the brand, finding and businesses, finding the right people we need to get in touch with, making sure we understand their key messaging so that when we reach out to them, it's in alignment. There's a lot of like research and stuff that I want to go into it, because like, while I could just be like, oh, it's a numbers game, let me reach out to 100 people, maybe I'll get one or two. I'd rather reach out to 20 really quality, and build some really meaningful relationships. So that's been my approach.
I love that. For those of you ladies out there that want to be a successful badass, we have one sitting in front of me. You should be so proud of yourself.
Thanks so
and
much.
So they say it's a man's world, and they say, I think statistics show that women produce 25% less income than men. Like, what's your take on that? Like this condensation that it's like a man's world. Like, how does that sit with you? And
yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like, my mind immediately goes to this time in my life where I went back to school. I was like 30. Me and my ex-husband, we both got accepted into Columbia, but we had both been actors. So we were actually undergrads. So we were undergraduates at an Ivy League school. Wow. And I had just had my first baby. So I'm like also a mom to boot. Anyway, we graduate there together at the same time. I graduate top of my class, summa cum laude. Okay.
Good for you.
Thank you. And I can't am I allowed to cuss? I cannot get a fucking job. I am not hireable.
Oh my God.
Because I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm competing with all these 22-year-old females and guys trying to get like that entry-level Ivy League good job. Wow. My ex-husband gets all the job offers.
Be honest, how long were you mad at him
all
for?
The job offers, like for so long, right? He ends up like accepting one at Google, like, wonderful job. And like Ryan, it was just like, for anyone to think that there isn't still like that level of, what's the word?
Judgment.
Yeah. And like, it's definitely still out there. Definitely. It was so hard interviewing. Like, people were saying things that like are, not even legal to say to me, like asking me, so when did you graduate high school? Like trying to figure out exactly how old I was and stuff like that. And so I do think that is very real. It was very hard for me. But I also think one of the most amazing things about social media is like, it really levels the playing field. It's like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't effing matter. If you put yourself out there and people respond to your message, you can literally build a business. Like, my whole business is built from social media. Yes, I had the years teaching experience behind me, but everything came from that. So when I found social media, it was suddenly like, now I get to create, I'm on my terms now. I don't have to like go out and interview for jobs and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, I like you. I didn't like social media. I hated it. I still don't love it because it's somewhat challenging for me to get on a phone and do something and say something nice and profound and try to be inspirational and stuff. But, it's so funny because I started going to Tony August 2018, and literally he was telling me to do this then, and it took me up until I think I started January 2020. What is it, 25? So it's been 3 years. So January 2022.
Okay.
And I remember Nora was actually with me, and I remember they wanted me to like do videos on the phone, and I would start yelling at them, and I'd be like, I'd go online and be like, look, this guy doesn't do it. See, that stuff's stupid. I was so resistant to it. But I'm so grateful that I did it, because it really is a form of full expression, and it provides so much opportunity for people to really get a look at what's going on. And I think brand is so important today, especially with credibility. And you said building trust with your community. You've done an incredible job, and I'm so proud of you for that.
You.
I mean, you could probably teach me a ton about that stuff. I mean, this is still kind of new for me. But I love it now. It's like a love-hate thing, you know, like, because I know that maybe one person may receive this message and their life will change, and I'm doing my job. And so I love that. I love what you're up to in the world. And you have 2 daughters?
Yep. 17 and almost 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And their names? I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
say.
it's okay. Isabella and Sophia.
Okay. Oh, I love those names.
Yeah.
That's beautiful names. When are their birthdays?
So Isabella's the 10-year-old. She's going to turn 11 April 28th.
Okay.
And then Sophia's...
Is that Taurus?
She is a Taurus.
Okay.
What are you?
Sagittarius.
Okay.
December 19th.
Okay, so my other daughter, Sophia's Sagittarius.
Oh, wow. When's her birthday?
December 7th. I remembered her birthday, everyone. It's okay. December 7th, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about astrology. I don't really. I always ask it because it's like just interesting to me, but that's as far as it goes.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's so funny because like we'll be at Dr. Joe's, and he'll be like making fun of like, oh, Saturn shifted its orbit and I'm feeling stressed. And it's like, it's just funny because like, you know, he's saying essentially like you gave your power away if you're telling me that Mars is causing you to be this way.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think it's funny. What's your view on astrology?
I think it's fun way to have a surface understanding of someone's personality.
Okay.
So, you know,
like a baseline.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you tell me you're Sagittarius. Okay. I might know certain things.
What do you know? I'm
like trying to think.
What are some characteristics?
I'm not good at everyone else's. I'm good at my own.
Your daughter.
I feel like I don't know so much. I haven't done so much research on Sagittarius.
When is
we
your
should
birthday?
do it. I'm January 29th, so I'm Aquarius.
Aquarius. I think my dad was Aquarius.
Okay.
February 17th, is that still Aquarius?
That is running into
Aries, maybe?
Aries, yeah.
Maybe he's in Aries. I don't
know.
know.
No, not Aries. Pisces. Sorry, Pisces.
No,
he must be Aquarius.
He might be Aquarius. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Aquarius are like people often think they're aloof, but we're actually kind of introverted, but we're visionary thinkers.
Okay.
And we're like also a little bit of a butterfly. Like you can't really hold us down. So we're a little all over the place.
Aquarius is water?
Water, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe air. I'm not an astrologist.
It's okay.
Ryan.
You're not being tested.
Struggling here.
You're not being tested, I promise. I just figured it'd be something cool.
All I know is Tauruses are stubborn.
My brother's a Taurus.
Okay,
and my
stubborn.
grandmother's a Taurus.
Yeah.
And I'm a fire sign, so I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if I'm dating someone, I will look up their sign and their compatibility with me.
You do the compatibility thing?
I do the compatibility thing.
I dated a girl one time, and she was like, we're 79% compatible. I was like, great. Does that mean we're going to make it?
You're like, is that good? Sounds like a C to me.
79, that's bad. Oh, man. I mean, if I got 79 in school, I'd be happy. I mean, I got D's and F's, so that's a passing grade. That's a C+ in my book.
So funny. I have noticed, though, what Dr. Joe was talking about he's talking about like Saturn return, that is legit. Like when that stuff goes down, like nothing works and your computer breaks and your cell phone.
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I just think it's funny when he's doing that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I'm so grateful to be here. I really, really appreciate you opening your world up to me. I mean, we just met, and I think for anyone, you know, when you were talking about yourself being young, saying like I could never imagine I'd be here doing these things, thinking in this way. I think that's such an important message for everyone. Most things aren't going to just happen overnight like that. And so like any little shift that you can make in your mind, any little adjustment in your habits that you can make accumulated over a long period of time is going to massively make an impact. So just because you're so down, you're so dark, your life is so bad, does not mean you're not going to come out, right?
Powerful.
So just like get that little, it's like a little valve opening up, just let it open. And
I love that.
Yeah.
And how can people find you?
I am Cathy with a C, Madeo Yoga everywhere. So website, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the places.
All over the place.
I'm all over.
She everywhere. She everywhere. She an influencer.
That's right.
Well, the subscription will be in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The way that this works is we share this message to those that are looking for transformation and hope. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to allow you on the show. This is new for me, and I think it's so cool. I love the opportunity to connect and really allow people to have the space of freedom and expression. I think it's beautiful to really see the hearts and those leaders, and especially you, Cathy. And I'm thankful that you have chosen to be here, and I'm grateful, and thank you so much for all that you do in the world. And you're an amazing woman. I think the ability to create what you've created, being a single mother, is a rock star, and you're badass. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. God bless.